Hey, welcome to On the Clock, a collaboration between the Pack a Day Podcast and the Giraffe Fellows. I'm Andrew Mertig. That guy right there looking at his phone, that's Kyle Fellows. Over the next few months, we'll be doing a series that covers picks 1 through 32 in the draft, each team's biggest needs, and who they should be considering at that pick. You can check out all of the video episodes of this series on the Giraffe Fellows channel on YouTube. You can check out all of the previous audio versions on the Pack a Day channel. This week, we're on to pick 14. One of the most interesting teams in all of the first round, the Indianapolis Colts.
Absolutely. And you called me out. I was refreshing the timeline to see if anybody had any breaking news. But I'm here. I'm paying attention, and I'm ready to talk Indianapolis Colts at pick 14. This is a fun conversation for lots of different reasons, but there's lots of different needs that the Colts could look to address this year. Tight end, edge, safety. We've gotten some buzz that the quarterback position is a little bit rocky there in Indianapolis, but that probably isn't a draft conversation. And maybe at this point, by the time this episode drops, maybe they have a new quarterback. We don't know. But the Colts have been kind of the definition of vanilla at the tight end position for years, right? They need something more than Mo Alley Cox, Kyler Granson, and Andrew Ogletree. Like, that is a very vanilla room. And with the tight ends in this class, they could definitely look to upgrade through the draft at tight end. The Colts invested in edge in the first round last year with Latu, but with Kwity Paye being back on a fifth-year option and this being his last year on his deal, they've got Odangbo as a free agent who is about to get paid, maybe by the Colts. So they could definitely invest in the future at edge as well. Would they spend a top pick on a pass rusher 2 years in a row? Maybe not, but they definitely could in this class. There could be some value here at 14. And while things are relatively stable at corner for the Colts, they do have a need at safety. Julian Blackmon is a free agent and played over 1,000 snaps in 2024 for this team. And Nick Cross is playing on the last year of his rookie deal. So they could definitely look to add an impact safety early or even later in the draft as well.
Yeah, so lots of different directions that the Colts could go, certainly. And I think that's what makes them a very interesting point in this draft. And I think based on their perceived needs, they would love to trade down. Tight end and safety certainly aren't considered premium positions. And I think they could still pick up a top player at either one of those positions and add some additional draft capital. However, we've mentioned before that trading down is going to be really hard in this range because there's not a lot of talent difference between players that are going to be available at 14 and maybe all the way into the mid 20s. So I do lean towards them probably sticking at 14. I don't think there's a particularly big need to trade up. And when we look at specific players, of course, there's the big two tight ends. There's Penn State's Tyler Warren. There's Michigan's Colson Loveland. There's safety Malachi Starks from Georgia. And then there's a bunch of edge rushers, Michael Williams, James Pierce Jr., Mike Green from Marshall. I know Kyle doesn't want me to mention him in this conversation, but Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. Like, maybe not in this range, but there are edge rushers available here.
Yeah, I gave Andrew a little bit of a hard time about his at current rate.
This is the third straight episode I've mentioned Nick Scorton.
I had to ask.
Like, I apologize.
Why does Nick Scorton keep coming up?
Me. I'm just saying there's a lot of edge rushers.
Yes, we can't take Nick Scorton in the top half of the first round, Andrew. I'm putting my foot down. Okay, so predictively, let's talk about like what the Colts might actually do here. And I'm tempted to make this the landing spot for either Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland. And I really do think that Indy seriously considers the value of both of those players when they're on the clock in April. That makes a ton of sense. But I think that the need and talent combo of Malachi Starks here makes just too much sense. He's kind of become this boring prospect, and maybe he does drift a little bit, and he didn't have as good of a 2024 season as he did in 2023. But at the combine, we were reminded, like, this is just such a smooth mover in space, right? He did those on-field drills, and we're just reminded, like, this is a guy who moves differently than other players at his position, and especially in this class. And I think that that when you drop Starks into your secondary, you're probably getting a solid starter for probably 2 contracts or about 8 or 10 years, and he's going to be a leader in your locker room. He's going to be that on-field leader as well, with good cerebral communication in your secondary. So at 14 for the Colts, I really like this fit with Malachi Starks. the safety out of Alabama.
Yeah, and we saw it in last year's draft class. You
Did
don't
I say
necessarily have to
Alabama?
be.
I said Alabama. He's from Georgia.
Oh, that's fine.
Forgive me.
I didn't even catch your mistake.
I gotta correct that one. That's a big one.
But we saw in the 23 draft that, or I'm, excuse me, 24 draft, that safeties who don't necessarily have elite athletic testing can still be wildly productive in the NFL. You saw Tyler Nubin with the Giants. You saw Cameron Kitchens with the Rams. These are players who were considered really top-notch safeties who slid big time in the draft because of their testing. Well, you take a look at Malachi Starks. He's got all of the tools that they do, plus the athleticism.
Yeah.
And so I think he could be a true difference maker at safety. And the fact that we're overlooking him in the draft community, I think is doing a disservice to just how good a player Malachi Starks is. So I love that fit. I think I mocked Malachi Starks to the Colts in like September, like mock draft 1.0. So like yeah. I'm all aboard that. I think that's a really good value. Just so I'm not duplicating you, I'm going to go with the boring pick here. Penn State tight end Tyler Warren. I think this is a fit that everybody is making, or a connection that everybody's making. I think he's going to be an asset to the run game with Jonathan Taylor and give Anthony Richardson a really fun check down option against zone. I think he could start to unlock some things in this offense in a very make or break year for the quarterback and the head coach. So I think this is somebody you can plug and play and who can be a really good player in the long run for Indianapolis.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I think, like I said, I was really, really tempted to go that direction. It feels like Tyler Warren is tight end 1 in this class, but there's a lot of buzz that it's kind of split. Like, is it Colson Loveland? Is it Tyler Warren? So it'd be interesting to see what direction the Colts would go if they had to make that choice. What do they value more in that circumstance? But lots of different directions the Colts could go at this interesting juncture in the draft at pick 14. So we'll wait until April to see what they do when they are in fact on the clock. But thanks for joining us for another one of these conversations. Make sure you like and subscribe to the show and stick with us as we preview all 32 teams in this series leading up to the 2025 NFL draft. From the draft room to the gridiron, the Draft Fellows have got you covered. Until next time, stay tuned and stay in the game.